world's attention converges upon India as it aces the prestigious role of G20 Presidency and is set to host the P20, a Parliament 20 conference of the presiding officers of the G20 countries and other invitee nations. India's presidency is a significant milestone as it seeks to find practical global solutions for the benefit of all and embody the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or world is one family. Hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching the special presentation of Sansad TV. After hosting the 18th G20 Summit, India is all set to host the 9th edition of P20 Summit. One of the high-level discussions or sessions organized during the P20 Summit will focus on sustainable energy transition. We are at a critical juncture. Climate change is posing unprecedented challenge that requires urgent action. So in this edition, let's explore how sustainable energy transition is the gateway to green future. Come along. At the 27th Conference of the Parties of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, or COP27, held in 2022, the UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, warned the world leaders that humanity is on a highway to climate hell with the foot on the accelerator.
Humanity has a choice: cooperate or perish. It is either a climate solidarity pact or a collective suicide pact. We are in the fight of our lives and we are losing. Greenhouse gas emissions keep growing. Global temperatures keep rising. And our planet is fast approaching tipping points that will make climate chaos irreversible. We are on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator.
Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi pledged at the COP26 UN Climate Conference in Glasgow that India will achieve net zero emissions by 2070.
We believe that an ounce of practice is worth more than a ton of preaching. हम भारत में के फ्यूल मिक्स में नॉन फॉसिल फ्यूल की हिस्सेदारी बढ़ा रहे हैं.
As a result, India is now a global leader in renewable energy, with third largest production of renewable energy in the world, fourth largest installed power capacity, and fifth largest installed solar power capacity. Despite the fact that the nation consists of over 17% of the world population, it only accounts for about 5% of global emissions. The very sense of urgency to address rising temperatures and climate change was visible at the G20 Leaders Summit in New Delhi, where the G20 nations committed to urgently accelerate their actions to address environmental crises and challenges including climate change. As the G20 is collectively responsible for about 80% of global emissions, the climate change is an issue that requires global action. India has identified a wide array of cutting-edge priorities that are being deliberated by various G20 working groups to help address the key challenges we face and to plan for a better future. This transformative leadership position carries profound implications for global affairs, especially concerning the paramount issue of climate change. India's presidency ushers in a novel era, marked by pioneering initiatives and visionary strategies aimed at combating climate change and nurturing sustainable development. Recognizing that the prosperity and well-being of present and future generations depends on current development and other policy choices and actions. Under India's G20 presidency, countries resolved to pursue environmentally sustainable and inclusive economic growth and development agendas in an integrated, holistic and balanced manner. The world leaders noted with concern that global ambition and implementation to address climate change remains insufficient to achieve the temperature goal of Paris Agreement to hold the increase in global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. The G20 countries highlighted the importance of ambitious action on all pillars of Paris Agreement, taking into account the best available science. The G20 Leaders Summit held in New Delhi on September 9th and 10th adopted the New Delhi Leaders Declaration, where climate change took a prominent position on the global geopolitical agenda.
The declaration that the leaders have agreed on today focuses on promoting strong, sustainable, balanced and inclusive growth. It seeks to accelerate progress on SDGs and has come up with an action plan accordingly. It envisages a Green Development Pact for a sustainable future. It endorses high-level principles on lifestyle for sustainable development, voluntary principles on hydrogen, the Chennai Principles for a Sustainable and Resilient Blue Economy, and the Deccan Principles on food security and nutrition, among others.
The G20 nations also agreed to pursue and encourage efforts to triple renewable energy capacity globally through existing targets and policies, as well as demonstrate similar ambition with respect to other zero and low emission technologies, including abatement and removal technologies in line with national circumstances by 2030. Recognizing the need for increased global investments to meet climate goals of the Paris Agreement and to rapidly and substantially scale up investment and climate finance from billions to trillions of dollars globally from all sources. The G20 nations noted the need of $5.8 to $5.9 trillion in the pre-2030 period required for developing countries, in particular for their needs to implement their NDCs, as well as the need of $4 trillion per year for clean energy technologies by 2030 to reach net zero emissions by 2050. The G20 members also recalled and reaffirmed the commitment made in 2010 by the developed countries to the goal of mobilizing jointly $100 billion climate finance per year by 2020 and annually through 2025 to address the needs of developing countries in the context of meaningful mitigation action and transparency in implementation. Developed country contributors expect this goal to be met for the first time in 2023. The G20 nations have promised to successfully implement the decision at COP27 on funding arrangements for responding to loss and damage for assisting developing countries that are particularly vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change, including establishing a fund. It was also stated that call on parties to set an ambitious, transparent and trackable new collective quantified goal of climate finance in 2024 from a floor of $100 billion a year, taking into account the needs and priorities of developing countries. The leaders also affirmed the G20 high-level voluntary principles on hydrogen to build a sustainable and equitable global hydrogen ecosystem that benefits all the nations. A parliamentary forum on life, that is Lifestyle for Environment, will be organized before the summit on 12th of October 2023. LIFE was launched on 20th of October 2022 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in Kevadia in Gujarat. This initiative is effectively working towards sustainable development based on environmentally conscious lifestyle and the principle of reduce, reuse and recycle. Based on the G20 high-level principles on lifestyles for sustainable development, the G20 nations committed to robust collective actions that will enable the world to embrace sustainable production and consumption patterns and mainstream lifestyles for sustainable development. Relevant studies on it show that it could contribute to significant emission reduction by 2030 for a global net zero future. The nations also supported the creation of an enabling policy environment to promote sustainable lifestyles for climate action. The G20 countries also committed to implementing the G20 high-level principles on lifestyles for sustainable development. To support the implementation of the high-level principles through international cooperation, financial support and development, deployment and dissemination of technology. They also encouraged international organizations to incorporate HLPs into their programs. And they also noted the launch of Travel for Life and support the development of smart destinations that are responsible and sustainable. As the world looks towards renewable energy sources to combat climate change, biofuels have emerged as a potential solution. Recently concluded G20 summit at New Delhi saw formation of Global Biofuels Alliance, which is an India-led initiative. It aims to develop an alliance of governments, international organizations and industry to promote the adoption of biofuels. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the leaders of Singapore, Bangladesh, Italy, USA, Brazil, Argentina, Mauritius and UAE, launched the Global Biofuel Alliance on 9 September 2023 on the sidelines of G20 summit in New Delhi. The Global Biofuel Alliance is an initiative by India as the G20 chair. The alliance intends to expedite the global uptake of biofuels through facilitating technology advancements, intensifying utilization of sustainable biofuels, shaping robust standard setting and certification through the participation of a wide spectrum of stakeholders. The alliance will also act as a central repository of knowledge and an expert hub. It aims to serve as a Catholic platform, fostering global collaboration for the advancement and widespread adoption of biofuels.
Green Development Pact in this leaders communique, and that's a very important component. It talks about tripling renewable energy, cutting down on fossil subsidies, but it talks about green hydrogen, it talks about biofuel, this partnership on biofuels, Global Biofuel Alliance. It talks about ending plastic, it talks about disaster risk reduction. So many components to the Green Development Pact. And this, to my mind, is one of the biggest achievements which this G20 has seen.
1,600 retail outlets, E20 is available, and the movement forward is to have, by the end of 2025, all petrol pumps in the country to have E20. But I think an even more significant achievement of the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister is that we've already moved from the hesitancy of 5%, hesitancy of 10%, hesitancy of 20%. Our mindset is already changing and looking beyond 20%. How will that happen? Greater ethanol production.
A treaty-based international intergovernmental organization, International Solar Alliance, aims at mobilizing more than $1,000 billion of investment needed by 2030 for massive deployment of solar energy. Established by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the then President of France in 2015, ISA's objective is to scale up solar energy, reduce the cost of solar power generation through aggregation of demand for solar finance, technologies, innovation, research and development and capacity building.
The International Solar Alliance has been proud to be a partner of the G20 process during the past year. As the G20 has progressed, so has some of our work. We are very proud that as part of the G20 process, we worked on an issue that had bothered us a great deal, which is to provide electricity to everyone. We note that we are far away from reaching the 2030 goal of having electricity access by everybody. And the part of the problem is that the extension of the grid is expensive. But the falling prices of solar and of batteries means that solar plus batteries, what is called as solar mini grids, are cost effective if you have to pull the grid for more than 10 kilometers. We are now putting together a group which helps this. We have also put together a global solar facility which provides a payment guarantee mechanism to the private sector investors who invest in these kinds of small projects, particularly in Africa. We look forward to your support for that. We have also worked on identifying who can do this, identifying the entrepreneurs, especially in Africa. We've identified 20 startups who can grow into the Amazons of tomorrow, providing solar products and services across the continent and beyond. With all of this, we hope to be able to create the kind of ecosystem that it takes for the world to move towards a solar future.
In an era of accelerating change, the imperative to limit climate change and achieve sustainable growth is strengthening the momentum of global energy transformation. The rapid decline in renewable energy costs, improving energy sufficiency, widespread electrification, increasingly smart technologies, continual technological breakthroughs, and well-informed policy making all drive this shift, bringing a sustainable energy future within reach. The world's actions today will be crucial to create a sustainable energy system. Ultimately, the path to secure a better future depends on pursuing a positive, inclusive, economically, socially, and environmentally beneficial energy transformation. India's announcement that it aims to reach net zero emissions by 2070 and to meet 50% of its electricity requirements from renewable energy sources by 2030 is a hugely significant moment for the global fight against climate change. India is pioneering a new model of economic development that could avoid the carbon-intensive approaches that many countries have pursued in the past and provide a blueprint for other developing economies. In addition, Government of India has also initiated major reforms with missions, Green Hydrogen Mission, renewable energy evaluation storage projects like Green Credit Program, PM Pranav, Govardhan Scheme, Bio Input Resource Centers, Mishti, Amrit Dharohar Initiative, Coastal Shipping Replacement, Vehicle Scrapping Policy for Cities, and PM Kusum Yojana, which are spread across 13 ministries as part of Green Growth Agenda. A transition to clean energy is a huge economic opportunity. India is particularly well placed to become a global leader in renewable batteries and green hydrogen. These and other low-carbon technologies could create a market worth up to $80 billion in India by 2030. Energy transition holds monumental significance in the new world order and has the capacity to influence and necessarily determine geopolitical transitions. Well, viewers, that's all I had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.